What makes GX Season 3 a great season? Is it because it's dark? Is it all the deaths? The gothic atmosphere with the dark world? Hopelessness? Or is it that two characters are so different, yet so eerily similar? For all intents and purposes, Judai and Amon could not be any more different. After the duel between Amon and Manjome, we know that Judai is a talented duelist that was chosen by Gentle Darkness to defeat the Light of Destruction. Typical shonen activities, right? Meanwhile, Amon was struggling to survive and was saved from hunger and heat exhaustion by a rich family where he then tried to live up to the family legacy. By the middle of the season, we learn that Judai hosts the voice of the Supreme King and is afraid of the darkness inside. Amon did whatever was needed for the Gammon conglomerate as well as serving his half-brother, but had a repressed desire to be the king or the one on top. By the end of the season, Judai willingly sacrifices himself to save all dimensions from Yubel, while Amon willingly sacrificed Echo to achieve his ultimate desire. Two sacrifices for two different reasons with two different outcomes. The interesting part is that Judai and Amon at any time could have made the opposite decision. Multiple times. As a child, Amon was close to making the biggest mistake of his young life with his hand dangling in front of his baby brother. He held back not only because he knew it was wrong, but he was also held back because Echo told him that Amon was not capable of such evil actions. Amon then made sure to do everything in his power to protect and help the little one. Even though he tried to do right by his brother, the desire of wanting to be the one his adoptive father paid attention to never went away. While Judai and Cobra were dueling, Yubel read Amon and deduced that his inner desire was to become king and escape the shadow of his little brother. She offers to help Amon achieve his goals if Amon helps her get closer to reaching her true form. Sometime later, Amon is shown having taken the arm in a container to the Duel Academy library to hide it until Yubel receives more dueling energy to maintain a physical form. To his shock, Yubel uses Martin as a host. Amon feels uneasy with the deal and challenges Yubel to a duel to obtain the powerful cards that she was seeking. During the duel, it is revealed that Yubel was gathering the pieces for Yugioh. She continues to convince Amon to follow her as she continues to enact her plan, and continues to promise that Amon will also achieve his goals. Later, Amon comes into possession of the arm after Yubel uses Johan as a host to lure Judai back to her. He tries to use the same Yugioh pieces that Yubel had and convinces himself that he can achieve ultimate power himself through Yugioh.
それは僕の愛する人でなければならない。愛する。僕が愛したただ一人の女性、エコ、君でなければならないんだ。アモン、行くな。エコ。
Judai as a child loved dueling with others, but something foul would always happen. Nightmares, frights, hospital visits. There wasn't a real reason that he could understand. Unbeknownst to him, Yubel was always by his side. Whether in card form or as a spirit, Yubel was always present. This also didn't prevent Judai from suffering nightmares himself. To protect him, his parents had sent him in for treatment to forget all these memories, including Yubel. The physical card was also sent out into space where it had an encounter with the Light of Destruction and suffered while calling out to Judai for help. Through his first 2 years at Duel Academy, Judai is burdened with stepping up to face the resurrection of the Phantasms as well as the threat of the Light of Destruction through Sayo. During his confrontations with the Professor, Cobra, Martin, Braun, and Yubel, Judai has his naivety challenge regarding dueling and indirectly has his views on what makes a hero destroyed. He falls to the voice of the Supreme King and his inner darkness takes over the dimension. The Supreme King willingly kills duelists, including Jim. Even after being called back from darkness, Judai is mentally weak and refuses to use polymerization. It takes pushes from Edo, Misawa, and Ryu to have him get back up and go on to face Yubel. Now that we know their backgrounds, how are Judai and Amon similar? To start, they both had brushes with darkness. Amon did not follow through with his first encounter and spared his baby brother. Judai was picked to represent Gentle Darkness and helped Neo-Spacians ward off the Light of Destruction. Amon and Judai were both looking to stop Cobra and the disc duels. Judai did it to help his friends after seeing many of them suffer from the consequences of participating in the duels. Amon wanted to go after powerful cards for the Gammon conglomerate and had his strike team ready to subdue Cobra. Amon's encounter with Yubel had him try to fight off his selfish desires, but he caved to the allure of becoming powerful. Judai's encounter with the Supreme King had him fall immediately under his control because he was lonely and heartbroken from seeing the apparent death of his friends. They each had to make decisions in a short time frame. Amon was able to ward off his inner desires until it became too powerful to ignore Yubel's temptation. Judai did not have to worry about them until he faced true turmoil and caved immediately. Amon ultimately gives himself to the goal of becoming king and chooses to use Exodia's power to do so. He sacrifices his love, Echo, to obtain the power and turns on Yubel. Even though Amon is ultimately a villain this season, it took him years to eventually fall, while Judai was the one who fell to darkness immediately. During the Dark World arc, Judai did not think of any of his friends that made the journey with him when it came to any decision making to find Johan. He rushes off into a duel against Harpy's brother, not knowing that he was dueling for his life. He rushes off to find Johan when he gets any semblance of hope to see him immediately, which causes his friends to go after him and eventually become captured. He rushes off to the fortress and duels Mad King Braun, where his friends are sacrificed for the super polymerization card. Every bad choice Judai could have made, he made. There's no way to justify Judai's actions other than wanting to save Johan. In trying to do so, he endangers everyone trying to help him, and most of them could have potentially died. Selfish actions by both men had them face inner demons. They each fell into darkness. They both tried to be king. They both dueled Yubel. The duels with Yubel are important as they serve as mirrors for our two centerpiece characters. Amon duels Dark Martin and Dark Johan. The first duel has him try to stop whatever Dark Martin was trying to do, but fails as he falls for Yubel's talk about embracing their inner demons to achieve greater goals. Amon can continue with the duel to try to stop Martin, but chooses to let them continue with taking the phantasms. The second duel has Amon now in control of Exodia and full of confidence. He now fully discloses that he will become king, as that was the god pushing him forward, and does not want to fail Echo after she was used as tribute for Exodia's power. Yubel points out the hypocrisy in this act, as the only one to suffer was Echo. Amon did not have to pay any cost aside from willingly watch his love die. Judai also duels Dark Martin and Dark Johan. The first duel was to rescue the rest of the school and return them to their dimension. It was an obvious choice to put his life on the line to save others, but he had the full support of his close friends and Johan joined the duel. However, Judai does not have to pay the price for salvation. Johan stays behind to save everyone. This is the trigger for hopelessness to take over Judai and leads him to all the bad decisions soon after. His second duel with Yubel is to save Johan from being under her control. He uses the power of friendship to liberate him, but it leads to a final confrontation where all 12 dimensions are at risk. Judai takes on Yubel for a third time and uses the power of the Supreme King to keep up in the duel. Yubel ties the duo together, and the ripple effect of all their duels results in Judai and Amon making every selfish decision possible. The point is, either of them could have made what we, the audience, perceive as the right choice. Amon could have walked away from being king. Judai could have gone for vengeance against Yubel for the death of all of his friends. Both options could have been believable due to the actions each man took beforehand. Remember, Amon continuously tried to fight off his inner desires. Judai fell immediately to the Supreme King and was mentally weak up until seeing Ryu pass away. Amon ultimately pays the price for power. He sees Echo's spirit disappear right in front of him, and he loses the duel.
よかったね、アモン。エコ、やっと二人は痛み、苦しみを分かち合えたんだから。
His final moments have him scream out Echo's name, and he is never seen again.
Echo! Echo!
Judai willingly follows through with his previous life and brings peace to Yubel by fusing his soul with hers. He does what is necessary to save his friends and return them back home. Their journeys through Season 3 of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX perfectly capture duality. Good and evil, light and dark, either of them could have taken the opposite decision. So, what does this teach us? We all face decisions in everyday life that will eventually have a ripple effect. Duality is in our life because you can't have one thing without the other. I mentioned good and evil, light and dark. There is also joy and sadness, right and wrong, and life and death. Our choices can lead to one or the other, and sometimes it can be both. No one will tell you which is the right choice until you live through the consequences. What is shown in anime about card games from the mid-2000s tells you is that the best decisions you can make are the ones that require personal sacrifice, that lead to personal growth, and develops your personal relationships.
それはどうかな。何？ネオスペーシアンもエレメンタルヒーローもデュエルを通して出会った素晴らしい仲間たち。でも俺にはもっともっと多くの仲間たちがいる。融合召喚レインボーネオス。